M21 just can't catch a break, man. What is up, y'all? It's your man, Dad Dude, bringing you guys another video. I am giving out subscriptions down below, so go hit that button. I'd appreciate it. Noblesse episode 3, and this episode opens up with banter between Regis and M21. I said in my video on episode 2 that I think this is going to be a running gag throughout the run of the show, and while not being highbrow comedy or anything, it's still good for a chuckle or two. Manabu and the super soldier hacker guy, because you know every special forces group has to have a hacker in it, but those two are going at it with their computer skills. Manabu is trying to keep the hacker out of his uncle's police server. I'm guessing his uncle's a cop, but Manabu is trying to keep the hacker out of the server, and it was a cool scene to get to see those two going back and forth. And there's our first glimpse of Manabu having these kind of skills with a computer. I fully expect that to be a part of the story going forward. Maybe Manabu helps M21 by hacking into like the Union servers or computers, or he helps Rise and Frankenstein by doing something similar. I just expect those skills to come back into play later on. I don't think they'll introduce that important of a skill, only just let it die there. I gotta take a minute to talk about the running joke throughout the first half of this episode of Han being worried that Manabu is maybe gay. Yeah, that came off as a bit problematic. Even when Han came to terms with Manabu maybe being gay in the latter half of the episode, still, even then, when he came to terms with it, the way he did it came like imply that it was still something negative. Now, I'm not saying it's like the worst thing in the world or anything like that, or the showrunners need to come out and apologize. I'm not the arbiter on such things. It just came off to me as a bit tone deaf in the jokes they were making. These are jokes I probably would have found funny when I was like 16, but now I'm older, a little less dumb, and they just came off as unnecessary to me. However, the visual gag of Rizal cleaning I thought was very well done. It was pretty damn funny. Because Rizal hardly ever talks, the fact that he would get up and clean and have Frankenstein's reactions, because you know Rizal is the Noblesse, he is like this super powerful being that commands a certain level of authority and respect, but he's getting up to pick up candy wrappers off the floor, and just Frankenstein's reactions to it, and you know that because Rizal never talks, anything he does comedic wise just hits a little bit harder. I thought those scenes were very funny. Way back in episode 1, we were introduced to the Union super soldiers. They were literally the first scene of episode 1, and they weren't around much after that until this episode. Now I know it's only the third episode. It's not like it's a big span of time between when we first get introduced to the Union super soldiers and now. But if you kick off your series with the very first scene we see as of these super soldiers, I would expect them to be a much more prominent part of the story than we've seen so far. Now I fully expect for them going forward to be a huge part of the story. It just seems out of place to me that they were the first thing we saw in episode 1, and then they were kind of put on the back burner for that episode and a half, and now they're all of a sudden coming back and making their move. I look forward to seeing we know what their goals are, but how they go about that, how they operate, the dynamic between the different members of the Special Forces group and how they operate. I look forward to them being a bigger part of the story going forward. Poor M21, man. That dude just stays getting wrecked. He knew he had no chance against the long-haired guy from DA5, but that didn't stop him. He still wasn't going to let that guy talk shit about his friends, and he was willing to fight knowing he had little to no chance of winning. And so far, M21 is my favorite character of the show, going as we've seen so far. We're only 3 episodes in. That's not saying much, but so far I find him to be the most likable character. Rizal doesn't really say anything. He should be our protagonist, but really he is not the central focus of the show so far. The show seems to be splitting pretty evenly over like the main cast about who gets the most screen time and who sees the most important to the story, which I like. I like that even though Rizal is technically the protagonist, he doesn't dominate the screen time in the show. Other characters get plenty of chance to be front and center and have their storylines and motivations be important. I like that the show is doing it that way. And so far, M21 is my favorite character. I find his backstory to be the most sympathetic so far. And overall, as a character, I just like the way I like his get down. I like that he knows that he is a failed experiment, but he doesn't let that stop him from, if he has to, he'll still fight you, even though he knows he's about to lose, which is evident by the way he wanted to go fight the long-haired guy from DA5 and got his ass kicked. Also, shout out to M21 for getting paid for his job as doing security at the school. I was actually kind of expecting maybe like a shopping montage with him, and I thought that would have been pretty damn hilarious if they had done that, because he's so stoic and almost kind of emotionless all the time. Just have like a funny montage of him going around trying on clothes after he got his first paycheck, I thought would have been fucking hilarious. But you know, the show didn't give us that. I just something I thought would have been cool. Back to M21 getting his teeth kicked in. When Regis and Sarah showed up, I was like, oh shit's really about to go down now. We're gonna get to see Regis go against the super soldiers from the Union. But that's not really what we got. M21 stepped in and would not let the super soldiers fight Regis. He even went as far as to shield Regis from potential harm. And that didn't have the effect on Regis that I thought it would have. I thought he would be like, oh man, this guy that I talk shit to all the time actually, you know, is a nice person and, you know, to an extent cares about me. That is not what Regis took away from that act of sacrifice and kindness. He just is hung up on the fact that M21 is willing to go with the Union, and he thinks that he is like still a member and siding with them. He does not get that part of the reason why M21 took that damage for Regis is to keep them out of the fight and keep them from getting involved. Because I don't think M21 recognizes how powerful Regis and Sarah should be. I mean, we don't even know how powerful they are. But they are noble, so I'm guessing they're really strong in their own right. But he doesn't know that. He was trying to keep them out of the fight, and that is just another reason why I like M21. Despite not getting to see a showdown between Regis and the super soldiers, this episode was still pretty good. I really like the development of Manabu and him being a whiz kid with the computers. Also, how long is Frankenstein going to keep up the whole act of being under Regis' mind control? Given as proud as Frankenstein appears to be, I don't see him keeping up that act very long. I know he doesn't want to let on who him and Riser really are. I just don't see him continuing to act much longer. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you on this one. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, let me know why in the comments. And if you are so inclined, subscribe. I would appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one.